Hi everyone and welcome. I'm down here in my wormery and this is one of my rigs that I use for filming time lapses. And what you see over there is the container that I just created my most recent time lapse with. The time lapse went live, was posted on the internet yesterday. But like I do sometimes, what you see going on here is me just continuing to film just in case something interesting happens immediately after the time lapse. Sometimes I wonder if there's something that I might have missed, so I just let the camera keep filming a little bit more and more. But what I'm going to be doing here is actually shutting things down and releasing the worms. So I think number one is going to be to simply turn off the camera, give it a break after all this time. And I've got a little light here to give us a little bit more illumination. So I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. I guess the other thing is that I noticed that some of the little Christmas lights that I used to light up this scene have also died. So that's also another reason. But I guess the main reason is that I had sort of expected that this would play out as sort of a horizontal migration movement sort of a video. So I had created a place where the worms would be drawn into, and I placed all the worms into here. But there was just so many worms, I believe. I might have overpopulated this thing that they couldn't all fit in here, so a lot of them just stayed over there. So I don't know, it's maybe not a complete failure, but the other thing I was starting to become really worried about now was that I came down here yesterday and I was able to see a good number of worms cruising around right on the surface of the material. And they don't look too good. I thought it might have had something to do with maybe a little bit too much dryness, so I threw a whole bunch of ice cubes in there last night, but I think the best thing to do at this point is to simply release what remains in this container and just dump out the contents into another active bin. So I'm going to take this thing over to my bench, and luckily this container will just sort of pop right off the screws that mounts it to the backboard, and then we'll just slide the contents of this into one of my active bins. I think I'm just going to throw it into my most currently built, my newest composting worm bin. So let's get this thing up on the bench and get these little guys released. Ugh, I think I also smell kind of a putrid sort of dead worm smell, which is not a good sign. All right, let's get this thing going. So I've put a piece of paper under here because I'm noticing some of the moisture that was placed into this thing last night. It was maybe 5 or 6 ice cubes that I threw in here. They've really boosted the moisture level of this material, and some of it's even dripping out here. I'm just starting to worry that it's going to make a big mess. Ugh, what are we going to do? I've already detached the camera, which was mounted right over here. And I've already also got the bin that we're going to be placing things into right here. And even though I thought that it might just be as simple as popping that container over, taking it off these little screws and just lifting it up and moving things over, I'm just worried that I'm going to be dripping, gooey, stinky stuff all over the place. Ugh. What to do? I am starting to feel like I might be safer doing this right over the worm bin. Part of the reason I took the camera off, so that even though it's big and bulky and a big awkward thing, I might just be best off sort of inverting it all together and detaching the plastic container that the worms and the material and everything is in right over this, so that it doesn't end up dripping and making a huge mess everywhere. So I'm going to put on a glove and we're going to give this a try. Let's see how it goes. Well, it just occurred to me that the whole rig is attached with these 2 big screws, and it seemed to me like maybe if I just remove these 2 screws, at least I would get the backing board to come off with the plastic container, remove it from this baseboard. That should make the whole thing a lot easier to handle and a lot less awkward. So I've already got one of the 2 off. I'm going to take this one off, and then we should be able to move it over a little bit more easily. Okay, well, I think it's time to bite the bullet and get this job done. So let's set the stage for this. so I don't have to prolong the inevitable. Let's try to get all this stuff staged for a quick cut over. All right. This container that we're putting things into is still only a couple weeks old, maybe not even that old. And it's already occupied with red wigglers, which is what I used to build the time-lapse with. And I think I've also got European night crawlers and blue worms in here. So this is just a mixed bag of different worm types. So this is going to be a little bit stinky too, I can already tell. But you know what, let me see if I can keep this fluid that's dripping out of here contained to a certain degree. Trying not to have smelly dead worm juice all over the place. Okay, so now I think since we're over the container, we're probably safe to do the disconnect of the plastic container from the backing board. So let's see if I could do this without making a huge mess. All right. What's the deal? All right. Definitely goes on there snug. So these two screws on top, they are holes that are part of the original container, but the two holes that attach the container on the bottom are holes that I drilled myself so that there'd be four holes on all four corners holding this thing in place. Oops, okay. So we just get the last one off. It'll be golden without making a huge mess. Okay, let go, baby. Ah, finally. Okay, so now a lot of messy stuff over here, including what appears to be a dead worm or two stuck to the backing. So I've already got kind of gooey, nasty worm juice on this piece of paper here. Let's see if we can just use this stuff to wipe off some of it. And it's unfortunate that a couple worms met their maker here in the process. It's certainly not my intention to create a hostile space for the poor little worms, but I think it might have just had something to do with maybe a little bit too many worms in here, and phooey, stinky. And maybe just a little bit too much evaporation happening, because there's a pretty good surface area exposed to the air, and I felt like I was kind of ending up with somewhat more dry stuff on the surface than I had expected. So I got a feeling that this paper might just stay here within the bin, and I'll use it as bedding. So let's see if we can get this thing emptied out. Ugh, trying not to get dirty here. Let's see if we can get the camera repositioned here for a better view of what's happening. Alrighty. Big mess. Kind of nice if this whole thing slid out of here in one piece, but I'm not expecting to have great success here. Huh. It actually did kind of work that way almost. I definitely sense the odor of dead worms. I don't smell it very often, but I did once have a container where I had actually let the lid sort of accidentally close up, and then the system kind of went anaerobic, and I think I had a bunch of suffocating worms in the container, so it really had quite a nasty smell to it. And I think the addition of moisture, a whole bunch of moisture, when I dumped in these ice cubes last night, I think it may have also kind of enabled the odors to kind of get stirred up a bit too. So this is not going to be one of our fancier worm release videos where we see a whole clean pile of healthy, happy worms cruising around, making themselves at home in a new environment. I've actually got a feeling that this poor worm population might be a little bit distressed by the environment that they're occupying now, so hopefully they're going to appreciate getting released into a nice fresh space with a little bit of fresh air to breathe and some fresh bedding and food to take part in. This bin was fed 5 days ago, and I'm assuming there's still some food in here. There's tons of nice fresh bedding for them to enjoy, so hopefully they're going to enjoy being, let's just get this out of here for now. Hopefully they're going to enjoy being in this larger, more comfortable space now. And I'm thankful for their efforts helping to create an interesting time-lapse video of them living in that little cramped container for the past month and a half or so. So, alright, let's give these little guys a little chance to get situated in their new location, and then we'll cover things up and let everything get back to normal again. Phew, stinky in here. I usually wait until I see most of the worm activity on the surface settle down before I shut off the fast playback of the worms getting situated in their new space. But in this case, I think I'm just going to end it here. I want to give these guys some darkness, give them a chance to get settled into their new space. So I'm going to start covering things up here. I don't have any leaves down here in the wormery at the present time, so I'm just going to use some of this shredded paper that I've got laying around. I don't want to put these top coverings onto this gooey, messy, muddy stuff that's in here. This piece of paper that we use to do some of the work over here and as a sort of a catch for the moisture, we'll just somehow integrate that into this bin during the next feeding, use it up as bedding. And then we can start returning some of the stuff that was in here when we first arrived. For me, these used coffee filters like I'm positioning here in the middle is just an indicator to show where the last feeding of the bin was located, which is right down here in the middle. And then we could get these pieces of paper and plastic back on top to cover things up. Alrighty, well, if you're interested in seeing the time-lapse video that was filmed with these worms in this container, then I'll be sure to include a link to that video up in the corner, up in the screen. Oh, got another little wormy here on the surface. What's up with this guy? a little lethargic. Let's let them back down on onto the bedding. All right, and see a couple more hanging out here on the plastic. So let's get this whole thing put back together really quick and give these little guys a break. So yeah, I would definitely suggest checking out that time-lapse video if you haven't seen it already. It's a brand new video. It just got posted a day or two ago. What is it? Yesterday, actually. So it's still a brand new video. But, you know, before I sign off here, let me just really quickly say thank you. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And hopefully these worms get comfortable in their new home. I'm thankful for their efforts, and I feel bad for the ones that didn't make it, but hopefully they'll start feeling better soon now that they're in a better place. So yeah, like I said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please remember to give me a thumbs up. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, then also consider subscribing to the channel too. That's really appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching.